Okay, I think we're about ready to start. What do you think, Ed? Joe? Michelle? Jimmy's been here for like a long time. Yeah. Betty, okay, we're all here. Did someone's... What'd they say? Welcome to City Council meeting tonight. Glad to have everybody here. We're going to start appropriately with an invocation from Elder Jim Hetrick from the Community of Christ, after which I've asked one of our department heads, Scott Taylor, if he would offer or lead us in the pledge. Elder Hetrick.
First of all, I'd like to thank you and the council for having the Interfaith Council come here, because we think it's very important. This community is blessed because of the presence of our Lord here. So, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we are so blessed to live in this wonderful community, a community where folks will step forward to lead and to try to better our community, for the citizens of our community who are concerned and who work hard to find harmony and to be successful and to conclude all of the good things that we do in our community. But most of all, Father, we are blessed because your influence in our community is so great and it's of such great importance to us. There are so many pieces that we have to fit together in our community, budgets to consider, projects, and discourses between one another during meetings that only come to success and fruition if we are led by you, and that we live and pray that your will would be done in our community. So, Father, we thank you. We pray that you would be with us, that you would be with the council and all those assembled here, that you would bless them, and that they might conclude all of the things that they need to do. And Father, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Jim.
Could the audience please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scott. Scott's our water department head, and appreciate all you do, Scott. Okay. Let's see. A couple things to mention just before we get started officially on the written agenda. First of all, tomorrow night, and council, add anything that you know of that I'm missing, but tomorrow night, just want to make sure everybody knows there's an event being held at the Electric Theater that's really kind of in honor of breaking ground for the new bicycle, the mountain bike, what do we call it? The Skills Park over by, very close to Santa Clara. I think Santa Clara is getting credit for it, but it's our park. They're welcome to come. Anyway, that's broken ground officially, and we're kind of celebrating by showing the details of that plan for that park at the Electric Theater, just in the lobby area at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. At 7 o'clock, there will be a movie shown. It's called North of Nightfall. This is sponsored by the Dixie Mountain Bike Trail Association. It's a very active association here in our community and growing, as you can imagine. So that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock for the movie. All are welcome. Then at 7:30, I've been asked to announce that the Heritage Choir is doing their Flag Day concert at the Cox Auditorium at Dixie State at 7:30 p.m. Anything else this weekend, Council?
Yes, you can't say there's nothing to do in this town, because at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, there is a meet and greet at the Arrowhead Gallery, and that's the art gallery connected with the Electric Theater. And I went last week, and it was so delightful, and it was very well attended, and the art is fabulous that you will see there. And then also at, oh, there's one more thing. Oh, yes, you can see, oh, no, that's next week. Ferdinand is being,
That's tomorrow night.
oh, that is.
That is tomorrow night.
Okay. Ferdinand.
Isn't it? Ferdinand at Town Square.
Yes. It's a theater that, I mean, an open-air theater that is a lot of fun, too.
It is. We kicked it off 2 weeks ago with Flyboys, which was filmed right here in St. George. And so this is first one in June. So.
And one more thing. 7:30 at the Eccles, there is a dance festival, modern dance festival going on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And there is a concert Friday night and Saturday night that would, everyone would just love it if they ever would let themselves go to it.
Very good. I went to a dance recital last weekend. Is there anything cuter than watching hundreds of little girls dance? It was awesome. From 4 years old to 18. It was really cool. It's, you know, that Southwest.
And that is lovely, but these are older
Yeah.
and professional.
Yeah, these are the
And
kids.
we have our own company here in town,
Yep.
so they're performing as
Yep.
well.
We're very fortunate, aren't we? Ed?
And Mayor, Friday, one of our St. George finest retires from the police department after 22
Next,
years.
that's tomorrow.
That's
Yep.
tomorrow as well.
Tomorrow, 3 to 5. I think we're going to have a little open house right
Right.
here.
So,
And next Friday, I believe it is, we have a
Fireman.
firefighter that's retiring. So, yeah. We try not to let them do that, but
I was
eventually
just going to say,
they earn it.
you got to keep up. The boy's getting tougher and tougher.
That's right.
But we appreciate him.
Anything else, council? Okay. And I think that's everything pre-agenda. Adam, any changes to the agenda?
Just one small change that I'll mention when we get to the consent calendar.
Okay. Council, just to prepare you, we will be, if you're so inclined, we would like to have a closed meeting after we're concluded. Adam, I'd suggest we do the closed meeting after the redevelopment agency meeting.
I think that would make sense.
Okay. So, and that would be for the several purposes, but property as well as personnel issues. So just keep that in mind. And also, Jimmy's aware of this, but I will need to sneak out in about an hour, just briefly, to run down to the university for a few minutes, and then I'll be back. I'm conducting one song tomorrow night, and so I got to go. It's not for them, it's for me. I need to go practice with them. So.
Everybody better come and see you do
Oh,
that.
well, come.
What's the
see if
song
I-
you're conducting?
It's a really tough one. It's the national anthem. But it is a different arrangement, and there's a trumpet to it, and it switches time signatures, timing for a couple times. I'm like, you had to do that to me, really? But anyway, I can wave my hand with the best of them, so we'll go and practice with them. And they always do a great job for all their concerts, but this one, very patriotic. It's a lot of fun, so I'm glad I get to be part of it tomorrow night. And that'll be right. Let's see. I got to welcome everyone to the bike thing, and then I'll run over there. So it's, you know how it is. It's busy. Like you said, Betty, there's always plenty to do in St. George.
Well, for that type of call, you can be forgiven for that. We want
Okay.
to make sure you get that anthem right.
All right. Well, you guys just behave for Jimmy, you know, and we'll be. All right.
We may get something accomplished.
You may.
Yeah.
Jimmy can always move us along. Okay, so let's start with comments from the public. This is the first Thursday, hard to believe, first Thursday of June. I don't have any forms that have been turned in. Has anyone filled out a form that they haven't submitted that wanted to make a comment? This is not on any specific issue that's on the agenda. Those you don't need to fill out a form for. This is just for comments from the public otherwise. No? Okay. Oh, yes? Sorry. Do you have one? Well, but do you have a comment of a general nature then? Then please come forward. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's for the public hearings. Yeah, probably didn't state it clearly enough. This is just where we give citizens of the city an opportunity to just comment on anything that's not on the agenda that they just like to bring up before the council. Yes, sir? It's not related to Twin Lakes?
It is, but it's not. It's really not.
Okay.
But it's really related to.
Just come up and tell us your name for the record.
Gary Hughes, and thank you for this. I didn't know that was going to be on there, but I had noticed, I had said about noise, traffic noise, and I think this is all of St. George, probably anybody that lives close to a main throughway. What I've noticed is I've seen dump trucks and semis and some trucks like that running on the regular roads, which are allowed to do, and not really that much noise coming from. What I've noticed is a noise from these little cars with these little glass pack mufflers on them.
Uh-huh.
Motorcycles, you can hear the going through the gears, and some of the diesel trucks now. A lot of the guys are putting glass packs or something on their trucks, and you can hear them go through the. Well, that sound is a lot louder than your normal, even semis, dump trucks that we have running through there. I mean, it's elevated noise, and it's that would be something I don't even know where you would start to, recommend noise ordinance for those types of vehicles. Looks like it'd be a good way to pull people over, give them tickets for that, and also check for anything else they need to check for. But those same cars are the ones that are usually speeders, so you can kind of just hear it as they take off from stops and stuff. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk to our police department. I know they're trying to, some of the things there are just, it's catching them in violation, but we'll certainly talk to the chief about it. Okay, so no other comments from the public on item number 1. One thing I forgot to mention, council, that I thought you might get a kick out of, I think you pretty much all noticed there's a new flagpole in town with a flag. So I found something on my desk, and it was written by a guy named Dr. Craig Booth. Here on his prescription pad, it says 50-foot pole, 10x2 flag, light on tank. And so that was last summer. I think it turned out to be about a 100-foot pole with a bigger flag, and it's not. I think the light. I don't know if the light is on the tank or not, but anyway, what a wonderful thing for Craig and Maureen Booth to donate to the city, and they had to go through a few hoops to get that to work. We had to make sure we were away from the power line enough and so forth. But it's so fun because you can see that from so many different angles. Fifth North, Main Street, the Parkway. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
It's stunning. And so many people have commented how
They have.
that they stand there and cry. It's
Yeah.
it's a landmark now,
Well,
instantly.
And then Judy says to me today, she says, and if you're down on just a little bit south on Main Street, you look at something else right under it, and it's a spider at the roundabout. And so, some people don't like the spider, some people love the spider, but so anyway, it's just really, it's fun. And the art, by the way, is designed to promote conversation, and some people like it. It's very subjective.
And thinking.
Some don't, but I think everyone likes the flag. Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. I just had a chance to visit with Dr. Booth briefly yesterday, and I had just received a phone message from somebody, one of those where I cringe. What do they need? What do they want? What's the problem? And they were thanking us for the flag, and so I let Dr. Booth know that I've been taking all the credit for the flag.
Very good. And I'm sorry to do this too, but the honor flight is going again next week. Not that you need to, but if anyone is interested in seeing them off, it's very early in the morning, next Thursday morning. I can get you to people that are in charge, but I believe they're trying to leave around 5:30 a.m. from the Dixie Center. So let me know if you want to go. I'm out of town and won't be able to go for the send-off, but they're coming home on the other end on Saturday night. That's the one that's a little iffy, you know, in terms of when they get here, but probably between 8:30 and 9:30 again at the Dixie Center. I'll be there for the greeting them coming home, not for the send-off. They're not planning on anyone from the city for the send-off, but if any of you want to, you'd be welcome and they'd love it. So I can let you know who to talk to, but probably 5:30 a.m. Dixie Center, Thursday morning. Okay, now let's move on to the consent calendar. Adam?
Okay, for the consent calendar this evening, we have 6 items. These items are administrative in nature, but they require formal approval by the council. In cases where there are appropriations, these amounts are within the budget. There is one adjustment that I would recommend for item C. That is the professional services agreement with AGEC. There's an additional dollar amount there that needs to be recognized for well monitoring. And so the total for that professional services agreement with AGEC is $46,908. So in the motion, we would have that included with item C. No other changes. Staff recommends approval of these 6 items.
Council, do you have any questions on any of these 6 items, and or do you want to pull any of those items out for individual consideration? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, the items on it, with the one notation of the, what was it, 46?
Item C, $46,908. And the additional amount there is for the well monitoring.
We don't have comments on the consent calendar
Wonder
items.
if that's what Mr. Bundy was here for.
Could be, but we typically don't do comments on that.
Mayor, I will move that we approve the consent calendar as written, with the exception to the dollar amount on item 6C.
And that dollar amount would be 46.
$6,908.
Correct.
Thank you. We have a motion by Betty.
Second.
2 seconds. We'll give it to Michelle. Second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 3 is a public hearing for public comment on the budget, and this is for the FY19 budget. We have had this on our website, and it's available in the city recorder's office, and tonight we'd like to hear any public comment that our residents would like to make. There is no action associated with this item other than the public hearing.
Council, anything you want to say before I open the public hearing? We've spent considerable time on it. We really started early this year talking about it, and so thank you for your efforts, and of course Adam and Deanna Berklasich, Trevor Coombs, and all of our department heads. Appreciate all the efforts. This is published on the website, and I believe a hard copy is made available too. I can't remember if that's at the library or at City Hall. Anyone know?
At the recorder's office.
At the recorder's office. Okay.
Yeah, and Mayor, this keeps us within the rainy day fund, that the limits of the state
Oh yeah.
guidelines that we have, that we need to do that.
Yeah, we're well under those limits, but we do believe it's a good idea to budget conservatively. We usually have a little bit left over as a percentage. It's pretty small, and then we keep that in the rainy day fund or for capital projects. Any other comments from the council, or should I open the public hearing?
Just a couple more notes here. It is a $270 million budget. The general fund is approximately $73 million. With a budget of this size, we are continuing to just make minor tweaks as we go along. We will have one final hearing on the budget in 2 weeks before we recommend final approval by the council.
Very good. The 270 includes all of our enterprise funds, such as our power company, and so the general operations, as Adam mentioned, the general fund is 73,000. I believe this represents, or sorry, 73 million. Wish it were 1,000. Represents about a 9% increase, I believe, over last year. Is that correct, Adam? 9 or 10. Okay. Then I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who has come to offer input, ask any questions on the budget for the year 2000, fiscal year 2018-19, which begins July 1st. Any music? What's that music?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy music. Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing, and again noting that we will have another public hearing in 2 weeks at the same time before we approve the fiscal year 2018-19 budget.
And Mayor, if I may, just in reference to a comment you made about the budget being up overall, the general fund, what we're projecting is increased revenues, and this is a balanced budget, so our revenues will not exceed, or I'm sorry, our expenses will not exceed our revenues, but we will see additional revenues, just growth in the city, and so that's the primary
That's
reason
how we're
for the
doing it.
increase in the budget.
Yeah, they're included in it, Adam. We do have a couple of fees that would be going up, but no taxes are increased. These are drainage
Correct.
fees, and was it wastewater?
That is correct.
So,
The city's property tax rate will actually decrease. It
Yeah.
should be revenue neutral, but the tax rate will decrease.
thank you for clarifying those. I think it's always good to know. Okay, next item, Adam.
Okay, item 4 is a public hearing to review and take public comment for the non-reciprocal transfers for unbilled utility services from the electric and water funds to other city funds. And so Trevor Coombs, our Administrative Services Director, is going to provide some additional background on both this item and item number 5.
So each year we go through a process reviewing our unbilled portion of our utility cost. This is I'll step back a little bit. Statute requires us to notify all of our utility customers about a month prior to, or actually 7 days prior, but we actually send out the notices about a month prior to our public notice, allowing them the opportunity to review this document as well as this night of them coming in and being able to comment on the unbilled portion. What this is there are utility usage that the city uses. For example, a lot of the facilities like the parks, the golf courses, some of the golf courses. You also have your right-of-ways where you have landscaping and other places, common areas within the city that the city owns. We absorb that in our utility costs. We estimate it's about $1 per month per consumer, so $12 a year for all those common areas that gets utilized by the citizens indirectly, like I said, with our parks and so forth, and we just absorb that into the rates. So the rates are already built in. There is no rate increase for this portion. However, there is a 10-cent rate increase that's being passed from the water district to us, and we're just passing that along, but that's not part of this unbilled portion. Just a little note on that. And this covers both water and electrical, so like your lights, you know, for your street lights and so forth. But for example, in the electrical side, on the water for their wells and their pump stations, consumes about 90% of that cost, which is the water part is $984,600,000. The total unbilled electrical is $1,085,070. So you can see the utility company uses a big chunk of that unbilled, and that's also why it's kind of built into there. On the water side of the unbilled, the general fund, which is your parks and golf courses and common areas, is about 91.8% of the unbilled, and which the total on that is $436,090. And then we also have projected some estimates for the 2019 year, which is built into our budgets. And once again, the total on the 2019 rates is $1,120,000. And just as the city continues to grow, we have more parks, we have more right-of-ways, and so we're, you know, it's consuming the electrical, and the pumps need to work more. And then we also have on the water side, the total on that for 2019 is $460,000 is what we're looking at for the 2019. Any questions for me? While I'm here?
Council? We're used to doing this every year as required by state law. And if there are no questions, comments from Adam or Sean, okay, then I'll open the public hearing for anyone who may have come to ask any questions or offer comments on this item, which is number 4 on our agenda today.
Greg Kemp.
Greg,
How are you?
welcome.
Thank you. Just a question of clarification. Did I understand that the city provides utilities to the golf courses without charge?
Scott or Trevor, yeah.
On some of them,
Water and power?
not all of them. On some of them we do. Big chunk of that. The golf courses is only 10,000 of that number. The 40,000 or $400,000. Majority of it's parks, 390. I'm not sure what golf course. I think it's Red Hills, but I could be mistaken. But-
Scott can probably clarify.
Is that right?
That's my only question.
Mm-hmm.
So the city does provide the water to the golf courses, and that's included in this. Most of the all of the city-owned golf courses are on irrigation water. So instead of paying the culinary water rate, what they pay for are the share assessments for the shares that they own in the irrigation company, where we get the water from to provide to the golf courses.
Thank you. Greg, if you have further, more in-depth questions, feel free to talk to those two smart guys right there.
I think I got my
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this one?
Larry Bundy. I was quite concerned when I read it, having worked for the city for 27 years. I felt a little compelled to come and address the council over the issue, and although I don't understand everything that's going on, I basically had more of a written statement to read, but I think I'll just maybe ask a couple of questions, and that one is that as far as the unbilled services, I was looking at a way, because I know that the work having worked here, that the city, each one of the departments has their own fund, okay, and that's indicated by the information that was sent out for the meeting. But I would ask a question. The question would be, do each one of these accounts, and there's 6 of them, do they accrue interest? And if they do accrue interest, why cannot the city, if you're looking to take money out of those funds, why can't you look at taking the interest off of those funds each year and helping pay that toward the unbilled services? And then also, I don't quite understand, like, is there going to be a cap placed on the money that is taken out of each one of these accounts? Because I look back at one time here at the city, we had a potential a problem that existed, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was like $5 million taken out of one of those accounts to pay that. Okay, so that was a rainy day fund that was sitting there that helped out. I get concerned about taking money out of those accounts and wind up having some sort of a catastrophic event take place, such as an earthquake or flooding again or whatever, where these monies are easily and readily pulling from accounts to take care of these things. And so that's just kind of what I'd like to address, have the council kind of think about when making that decision. Are we holding enough money back that we won't have a problem in the future? I'm concerned about low income and people who, not just low income, but they're retired. They just don't have more income coming in from different places, and they wind up getting hit with a higher bill because we do something that's maybe caused a problem where the money is not there anymore.
Okay. Trevor, you want to respond to that?
While Trevor's coming up,
Yeah.
if I can make a comment. So
Please.
this item can seem complicated. One way to consider this, and it's a very simple analogy, and it's probably overly simple for the purposes of what's happening here, but think about the money that you keep at the bank, and you may have a checking account and a savings account, and you may have $500 in the bank split between those two accounts, but you have $500 in the bank. At the city, we have multiple different funds, multiple savings accounts, multiple checking accounts. It's all taxpayer dollars. What we're required to do in recognizing these transfers is try to better recognize the true costs of each one of these services. So we could, for example, charge ourselves for example, water or electricity that the general fund is using, but then we'd have to increase the money that we have in the general fund. So really what this represents is all the different money that's moving around within the city between the different funds, but the total amount of money that the city has, the total taxpayer dollars, if you will,
It's no different.
it's all the same pot. But we are required by the state to recognize these transfers on paper because it gives us a better accounting. Year to year, we can keep better track of, okay, what do these services really cost each one of the various funds? But again, thinking about it in terms of, checking account, savings account, it's probably the simplest way to think about the overall concept. I don't know if that helps or not. But.
Yeah, so I'd ask this question again.
Use the microphone, please, Mr. Bundy.
I'd ask this question again. So looking back at the unbilled services, how do you propose to pay for those?
Well, again, what we're trying to do here is recognize these transfers. They are paid for. They're paid
Okay.
for through existing monies that the city already has.
But they come out of the
It's
general
various-
fund, correct?
What this is doing is this is saying we're not charging the general fund. We're recognizing a cost, but we're not charging the general fund. General fund is limited in the ways that we can increase revenue. We could increase property taxes. We don't want to do that. And so by recognizing the transfers, we're able to still do the proper accounting without having to increase the amount of money that's coming into the general fund. Trevor, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, what Adam is saying is absolutely correct. I mean, we're not charging the general fund. These are already built into the rates as the public notice identified. Another question he had in regards to the interest that's earned and calculated, we do keep track of that on every single fund. The city has about 40 different funds throughout the city. The enterprise is made up of 4 or 5 of those. We track the interest. That interest is used in the budget process to help calculate our revenues, to help keep our costs in check. We do offset. We try and do what we can to earn as much interest on that, and it is kept in the specific funds. For example, the enterprise funds, Water Enterprise Fund, has their own revenue stream for interest, and by getting their interest in there, it helps keep that water cost, utility cost rates down. So that's already factored into these rates, like Adam had indicated. This is just the unbilled portion that's not really identified. We track it by utility account, by department, down to the specific fund. That's how we get these numbers. These are just summary numbers to make it simple on that concept. Does that help answer?
Yeah, thank you. We're not spending any more money by doing it this way. It's just we're accounting for the fact that we're not charging that to those departments. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll come back. I'll close the public hearing, and I don't believe there needs to be any action taken, right? We're just required to hold that public hearing. Yes.
And Mayor, my understanding too that this unbilled utilities, that there is a fund that donations are made by people that do business in there, and they keep a kind of a separate little collection there to help traverse that cost.
It's true.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of donations by people. They may round up their, $78.32 to $79. And we put those in and use them for people that are in need. There's also the HEAP program for people that we encourage people to go apply for, and which it's surprising how many people take advantage of that, which is a great resource for the citizens. So.
Yes.
Thanks, Trevor. I guess number 5 now.
Okay, so number 5 is our transfers from our various funds. And what this is there's administrative and overhead services that are provided to these enterprise funds, these business type funds, water, energy, so forth. And these services include utility billing, payment collections, customer service functions, as well as indirect costs for human resources, legal, technical, fleet maintenance, and other administrative services. We find that it's economy of scale is vital in trying to keep costs down. If each of these business type entities had to have its own HR or have its own IT, or even if we outsource it to a private sector, it's more cost effective by utilizing in what we already have in house to provide that services to keep costs as low as possible. And these things cover additional employees, direct personnel, materials and supplies, equipment, costs of hiring professional services. So these transfers take place. Once again, this is to show transparency in what we're doing to the public. The total on the general fund for all these transfers is $5,425,000. You can see down there, electrical fund is the largest at $2,150,000. Water fund is 1.4 million, and we do have some capital projects for drainage. That's also on the study at 2.4 million. Anyway, any questions for me regarding that?
Any questions, council?
Let me also note this is for the 2019 proposed budgets. You can also see down below the capital project list. We've gone ahead, we didn't have to do this, but we went ahead and itemized so the public knew what projects that we were estimating as far as budgeting towards, so that they could see where those funds are being transferred and how those funds are being utilized in that transfer for the drainage. So
again, the total, Cameron, sorry.
That's okay.
Trevor.
So the total on the general fund is $5,425,000, and then on the drainage fund for the capital projects is $2,430,000.
Gotcha. You see that, council, in our packet. It's not projected on the screen, but any questions from the council? Okay. Thank you, Trevor. I'll open the public hearing for anyone who may have come to provide input or ask questions on item 5. This is for the proposed transfers from the enterprise or business type funds to other funds in the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll move forward. Thanks, Trevor.
We've got 3 land use items next. Items 6, 7, and 8. We're going to ask our planning and zoning staff to cover these for us.
Next item number 6, public hearing and consideration of the ordinance amending the Atkinsville Master Plan PDC zone to expand area 4.5 east along Southern Parkway on approximately 25.8 acres, generally located east of Astragalus Drive, exit along Southern Parkway. And so this is a request to amend the Atkinsville Master Plan, both the development plan and also amend the text. This is the area located here. This is Southern Parkway, I-15. Here's the first exit off the Southern Parkway. This is the general plan. If the council recalls, in February 1st, 2018, this area was expanded into this town center land use designation. This is the current zoning. It's again PDC. It's part of the Atkinsville master plan area. This is the site located here. This is the current Atkinsville PD development plan. Here's a close-up. You can see it's currently outlined as open space. And so what the applicant is requesting is to expand this 4.5, approximately 25 acres along Southern Parkway. This is the zoning map. It would be expanded. This particular PD has a list of uses, and so the expansion of the 4.5 would just allow for those uses that are already identified as the 4.5 land use designations, which is employment. This is a close-up. This is the current Atkinsville plan shown as open space, and this is the new proposed with the expansion. Planning Commission, they reviewed it, took public hearing, and recommended approval for this amendment. And that concludes staff's presentation on this item.
Questions for John, council?
Hey, John, I just want to make sure I understand this. Can you kind of give me a better, an explanation of what employment type 1 is? What is that
So in
referring to?
the Atkinsville plan, there's a variety of different zones. One of those zones is referred to as employment. And so in the text, there's actually a section for employment, and there's several uses associated with that area. That's the name of it. Like they have other areas that are convenience commercial, other areas that are multifamily. This one they named employment type 1. It refers to the use designation, the use list.
Thank
so
you.
it's a lot of warehouses and more intense commercial uses.
Thank you. I know that people that are concerned with that area, that gives them a better understanding. So thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you. So I'll open the public hearing for anyone who may have come to express opinions, offer input, or ask questions on this. And if there's anything that the applicant would like to say, we'd be happy to hear from them too. Any questions, council? If not, then I'll close the public hearing since there appear to be no comments, and come back to you, council. This is consideration of an ordinance that would be amending the Atkinsville Master Plan PD commercial zone, as we've been, as has been explained to us, to expand area 4.5 employment type 1 east along the Southern Parkway on approximately 25.8 acres, generally located east of Astragalus Drive, exit along Southern Parkway.
So moved.
Second.
I was going to say, so moved.
Have a motion by Michelle and a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
The next item, item number 7, it's a public hearing in consideration of an ordinance amending the Rimrock Commercial Center PDC zone to develop a professional medical office building. The property is lot 13 on approximately 1.80 acres and is generally located east of 2292 South, 1470 East. So this is a PD amendments, and so the applicant has provided the elevations in the site plan for a development of a medical facility. This is the area. It's located here just south of the Marriott behind Target. So this is the location. This is a close-up. Again, the zone is PDC is part of the Rimrock Commercial Center PD. This is the site plan. This is a close-up. They'll have one access. Staff's reviewed the landscaping. They meet the area requirements. We will review the landscaping in more detail with the construction drawings. They do meet all of the parking requirement for the proposed use, which is medical office, which is 1 to 250. This is the elevations that they're proposing. We do have the materials board located on the desk. If the city council wants to see it, I can pass that around. Also part of the request is the additional height. The PDC allows for 35 feet in height. Anything greater than that requires a consideration through the PD amendment, and so that's the request. They're approximately 55 feet is what they're proposing. This is again showing the elevations. There's a grade change, and so as you work further east, the site climbs, and there's multiple entrances from different parking lots located in the rear of the building. This is a couple pictures of the site. Planning Commission reviewed it, and they did recommend approval for this amendment to the PD, including all of the conditions that are outlined in the staff report. And that concludes staff's presentation on this item.
Just curious, is there underground parking?
I believe the applicant can answer, but I do think there's some covered parking in the back.
That's nice. Looks like a nice building.
And John, that the lighting over there will be similar to what we can expect from the Marriott Hotel as far as the lighting for the people up on top of that ridge. There'll be no stark surprises, right?
One of the conditions of the Planning Commission was dark sky lighting, which directs it down instead of up, and so that'll help mitigate some of the glow of the lighting.
It's item 7. Yeah. Any other questions for John? Would the applicant like to say anything, present anything else? If there are any, if there are in public hearings, you can come forward then. So I'll open the public hearing for anyone who might have comments on this item, number 7 on our agenda, as has been presented to us. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Come back to you, council. Any questions that you have for the developer? This is probably a good location if it's approved for maybe some OBs or something that might be wanting to be closer to the hospital. I don't know.
Might want to run across the street.
It's an attractive building.
Yeah. All right. Ready for motion if you're so inclined.
I will make a motion to amend the ordinance to the Rimrock Commercial Center PDC commercial plan development commercial zone to develop a professional medical office building located east of 292 South, 1470 East.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? And this would be with the conditions set forth by the Planning Commission, I assume.
That's fine.
Okay. If there are no questions on the motion, all in favor this time, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next item is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance changing the zone from open space to C2 on 12.90 acres for Twin Lakes. Property is generally located north of I-15 freeway between Twin Lakes Drive and Red Hills Parkway. So this is an item that was tabled at the last city council meeting. Since that meeting, staff has met with the developer on several occasions. The original proposal was a C2 commercial zone. After working with the applicant, they have revised their proposal and they've submitted a revised application for a planned development commercial. And so the items in your packet reflect that request with a use list and a narrative and a site plan. No elevations have been provided. However, staff feels that in the future, when they're ready to submit buildings, it'd be part of an amendment and they'd provide all of that information at a later date. And so I'll just review quickly what they're proposing and the PD. This is the area. This is the location. Here's Twin Lakes. Here's I-15 and Red Hills Parkway. Again, the zoning is open space. The general plan is commercial. Again, the request has been modified to planned development commercial, which gives the ability for the Planning Commission to review all the uses and the narrative and all the future amendments of the site. So this is the rough site plan, the applicant, or the conceptual site plan, showing each of the lots on the way that the applicant initially intends them to be. Again, when we have more detail, they'll come forward as amendment, and we'll start seeing the parking area and some of the other requirements of each of the sites. Here's the written text. I won't review each of the items. It discuss what their intent is. It's in the packet. This is the use list. Staff's reviewed the use list. We worked with the applicant and removed several uses that were being proposed. So this is the updated use list. There's several pages. This is taken from the commercial zone. And that concludes staff's presentation. Planning Commission, they reviewed it once before, and the recommendation was a PD, and so this is in line with what the Planning Commission's recommendation was.
Thank you, John. Council, do you have any questions? Three of us were here, or 4 of us, but I don't believe the 2 of you were. So
I just have kind of a silly question. Can you give us an idea of what was not approved use?
They had, I believe it was a circus. There was some residential stuff that they had in here that was removed. Not a lot was removed from the commercial, but there were some items that were removed.
Yeah, and John, tongue-in-cheek kind of, I see a dance studio in martial arts here in St. George. Wow.
I think it's the
well, we have a few of those.
The same entity.
Yeah,
yeah, that's good.
I have a question. There's a couple of on that list that bother me a touch, only because I've seen other places that probably don't keep their areas as nice as they ought to. The automobile repair and the boat service.
Okay.
What can we do on those things? Because really, we all know of places around town where they've been working on cars, and there's cars parked all over the place.
It is a PD, and so the city council has the ability to review each of those uses. Another option is that you can leave it open for them to propose it as part of their site plan with that use, but it is at the discretion of the city council.
So do we, if we were against a use,
could strike it? You could strike it.
Can we strike it now, or can we strike it also later?
You're going to probably want to strike it now. You can also put conditions on a particular use if you want it indoor only. There's also those options.
And you know, again, we also have the option to enforce, you know, the code enforcement kinds of things, and we need to do that better in some cases. Some of the ones you're talking about, Joe, if I'm thinking of them, might not even be in our city, but some of them are.
Yeah, but some are.
Yep. And the city council could remove them from the list with the direction that as they bring forward their site plan, they could revisit that use.
Any other questions for John?
John, and the drainage issues have been addressed as far as drainage down into that roadway that's going to run through there, and there'll be no drainage concerns.
Oh, that has been dealt with, hasn't it, John? Do you want to?
We've been working on the drainage, and that's something we'll continue to work on. As we get the construction drawings, we'll work even more on the drainage issue, but that's been something that's been discussed.
You may have seen an email today on that issue, and Cameron and Scott could both tell you if you want, but that's is being taken care of, already has been. Anything, my understanding was Cameron and Scott, any drainage that occurs, storm drain I think we're talking about, would funnel into what's there and go under the freeway. Is that correct? So we're good. That email that came through has already been addressed.
Right.
Is that fair? Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Thank you, John. All right, so I'll open the public hearing on this item, number 8. I don't know if there's anything the applicant would like to say. I think it's pretty clear. Four of us heard it before, well, 3 council members. But if there are any other questions from the 2 that weren't here before, we could certainly hear from the applicant if you'd like to, and then we'll open the public hearing.
Given that we've had the opportunity to discuss this, I'd just be happy to take any questions instead of restating all the notes that are already in the minutes from our previous discussion.
This is Neil Walters.
I'm sorry, Neil Walter, NAI Commercial Real Estate, representing the applicant, RDM Holdings.
I would just like to comment that I'm very happy that the developers have tried to follow what the city would like and what the citizens would like. That's quite a big change for you, and I appreciate it.
Me too.
Yes.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. We recognize that, particularly relative to the C2 use list, compared with the use list that's been presented, there's a substantial number of adjustments, including the circus and the water park.
I love the circus. Wow.
It's in your C2, approved.
Love it.
Do they
Any
even
questions?
have circuses anymore?
Yeah, but
You
they're
can, though.
Yeah, yeah. Any questions for Neil? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing at this time for anyone who may come for input, to provide input or ask any remaining questions on this item 8 on our agenda.
Gary Hughes, Twin Lakes Association President. I'm still a little worried about what goes in there because of the noise and looking down at what we got our homes have already lost, value since the foreclosures and redevelopment down there. They were valued at about $350,000, $385,000, and now it seems like 300 will be to 3.25. You're lucky, but anyway, what all these things that they're talking about, like a massage establishment. I mean, we could put a Chinese buffet there too because they kind of go together. But I don't know. Each one of these will be able to address as before it's approved.
We wouldn't deny them if we don't take them out tonight. We wouldn't deny them later, but we would be looking at the elevations, the site plans, the signage, the design.
For instance, like bus terminal, taxi, that seems pretty noisy. 24-hour business. I mean, library, museum, post office. That sounds pretty good. I don't know. I'm still afraid of some of these disturbing the established neighborhoods, the cows that they try to, that St. George is good of trying to keep the agriculture there. We were there first. The people were there first. It was established as a community and a golf course, and now we're having to accept this type of pick and choose whoever has the money, let them come in. And you guys also developed that underpass. I would think you would like to, some of these I think you would like to check off yourself. I don't even see any type of rental, like apartment buildings or townhomes that we do need in St. George.
Oh, yeah, it's planned to be PD commercial. So,
I see.
Right.
Okay.
And we do have, sir, and just for the public, about 700 apartment units going up right now. Apartments and townhomes that are in one stage or another of development. So, we've got still more that will come, but I think we're going to be in better shape there and within the next year.
Right. And you guys will be overseeing all this anyway, and the code enforcements and stuff from what we got to see from the back of the building, the lights that come off of that to our houses, stuff like that. That's what I'm worried about.
It's all got to conform with our ordinance.
Okay.
And we even have, you know, a little bit better opportunity to control that through PD.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any other comments from the public on this? Okay, then I will close the public hearing and come back to you, council. Any questions or discussion you'd like to have? I do appreciate, as has already been noted, that the owners, developers, really what was recommended, council members, was from the Planning Commission was to have this be PD commercial instead of C2. In some ways, you might say C2 is easier for a developer because then they've got it, you know. But at least this way, where this is an entrance to our city, it was felt by the other council members that it would be desirable to have a little bit more say, if you will, to make sure that it works for the neighborhood and that it works for the city and all the citizens and the visitors that come through, you know, on I-15. And so that's kind of the why behind the P2, and they still do get, there are a lot of uses there. You know, I don't think it's likely that some of those would happen, neighbors, but I think it's reasonable, in my opinion, to allow the property owners who've actually spent a lot of money and made a lot of concessions already and tried to help the adjacent property owners considerably with the backyards. I think it's a reasonable expectation to allow them to develop their property. But anyway, that said, if there are any questions,
just
or
my understanding that, as Joe mentioned, the change to PD commercial, I understand that Mr. Hughes was, and the group he represents, were okay with the PD commercial. That addressed their big concern.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, all these uses aren't going to go in there. That property is not big enough for one of everything on this usage list. And that is commercial property. It's a great place for commercial property, and I don't believe it will decrease property values there. This will be a nice area. We'll make sure that it looks nice, it is nice, and be a great place for commercial right there.
Are there any uses that anyone, Joe, you mentioned a couple beginning, would you like them excluded, or is it too late for that?
It's not too late.
It's not too late, and I would go along with what the rest of the council feels like. I would like to see those two taken out. But
Which two again?
Which two?
auto repair and boat servicing.
And I'd like to add a bus terminal.
You mean strike
Exclude
it?
Excuse me. To his list, I would like to add.
Neil?
May I speak to that question?
Sure.
So I think the concern, Joe, is founded, which is you're nervous that you might have, for example, an auto repair use that might not reflect well on the city. I do think that there's some really good examples of where that use could be really appropriate and valuable. I don't expect that it's the likeliest use on that list, but I think that it's one that we would like to have considered. I do recognize that the PD gives the council some substantial oversight as to the site plan, the elevations, which might also include how you want to manage any of the spacing and what they might be able to do in what would, in some of the situations that you're articulating, a yard space type of an environment. I think that as you look at the site plan and how they plan to handle that and et cetera, that there's some good mitigating impacts that you might be able to use either in terms of fencing or else the way that they're managing that space to mitigate that. I think one of the other things that's an important consideration, at least for us, is we recognize that in the context of the planned development zone, each one of those individual uses will be back here, right? There's not a process for them to not come and say, you know what, this is our use, this is how we're proposing to go about that process. And we think that there's some pretty good mitigating circumstances for some of those uses. I want to maybe one other comment, at least as it relates to, I think it was the massage parlor. Was that the other one?
I did not bring that up.
I didn't either. No problem.
Okay, all right. So anyway, that was my comment. So.
Well,
And just to clarify, though, I think, you know, even though you may bring something like an auto repair shop, if it's still in that approved list, it could still be put in there, even though it has to come back to us. Is that true?
That's true, but you would have substantial oversight as to how that use was going to be deployed in that particular location.
And I don't know how the ordinance is, but there are repair shops that have a parking lot as big as Smith's, and it's full of cars that are,
My guess is they're in a C2
that may be true.
Well, and the other thing is, I'm not sure how
or a
many
C3.
are going to find this attractive in terms of price and so forth, you know?
Yeah. I just, I
Also-
hate to have us create something that has to be monitored with code enforcement also.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, though, keep in mind there are some of these facilities that are really nice. For example, you can go to Costco and have your oil changed right there at that little, not necessarily at Costco, but there's a little place right out
Grease
on.
Monkey.
Yes, Grease Monkey.
Very nice, very clean establishment.
Right. We have a Jiffy Lube right down here on River Road and 1450, a very nice looking place. So,
Might need to relocate someday if the river floods.
right.
That's right.
some of us voted
Yeah.
against.
So, yeah. I wish
I
it would
would
rain
just-
enough right now for it to flood. My goodness, it's dry. But that's I mean, I see what you're all saying, but I think we're getting a little nitpicky, although, you know we want to have a nice little place there. I just hate to see us eliminating something that might be a good option. I mean, this is a piece of private property. Again, remember, we've already put a lot of restrictions on here. I understand some of the concerns from the neighbors. Change is hard. But there is a freeway that runs right through there that's got to be awfully noisy. I grew up in the middle of St. George, and at night, you go outside, that's what you heard, the freeway. I mean, that's just a part of life, I think, in the city. But again, I hate to see us. There's some very nice massage parlors. I know we have that. It's got a bad connotation, but there are some places where you can, and we don't call them massage parlors, but there's a place where you can go get a massage, and they're very
We
nice.
call them spas.
There you go,
And
spa.
Thank you, Betty.
And they're important.
Yes, thank you.
They are an important thing
Yes, so
to our society.
that's my feeling on that.
I
I
could
mean,
use one right
I could
now.
have one too.
You know, I'm in favor of this change that's been presented to us, and I'm certainly not going to vote against this just because there's a couple of things I'm concerned about.
And I'd like
Because
to
I
make.
think it's going to be a wonderful improvement.
And Betty, we don't have any bus terminals really,
know.
and we might end up with a little
I'm
bus
thinking of the
stop there.
Trafalgar, you know.
I know you are, but I don't think that's going to happen.
there's no way the bus terminal could afford that piece of property.
No.
Okay, Mayor, if you would approve, I would like to move to amend the ordinance, changing the zoning from open space to highway commercial on 12.90 acres for Twin Lakes.
To PD commercial. It
Oh,
changed
PD.
from that.
Okay, PD.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Betty with a second by Joe. Any comments?
I'm just saying, the request was for C2, was it not? So are we denying the C2?
They changed to,
Before it came to us
before it
tonight.
came, yeah,
Oh.
to PD
So I just,
commercial.
okay, as long as we're making the proper motion, that's all.
Yep. Very good. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. All right, I'm going to turn the direction of this meeting over to our Mayor Pro Tem, Jimmy Hughes, and I'll be back soon. See how much you can get done.
Fasten your
Bring us
seatbelts.
dinner.
Don't drive fast.
Yeah, hurry back, they're all worried. I saw the chief unholster his weapon. Oh, he left. Go ahead, we're on to item 9.
So item 9 is a housekeeping item. This is something we've been doing for a while. Legislation just changed it to where when we go in and administrative change housekeeping items relating to the PTF account, which is a public treasurer's investment fund held by the state treasurer that the city has funds in order to change who oversees that and administers it, they now want it to be done by a resolution. These changes have already been done. The previous to me was the previous Administrative Service Director, Deanna Burkaklich, that was on it with our treasurer, Laura Woolsey. They're changing, so the changes have taken place, but this is a resolution to amend and adopt those changes. What that does is it puts myself, Trevor Coombs, Administrative Service Director, and the treasurer, Laura Woolsey, as administrators of the PTF account, which we have 7 currently, and allows us to transfer money down to our various checking accounts to cover payroll, bills, and so forth. But also we separate those duties. We have Kevin and Empey, which are an assistant finance manager, and Tiffany LaJoyce, that is our finance manager, that are separate from us, that do wires. So we transfer money as it needs to cover items, and they are the ones that disperse those funds to keep the separation there. But this is a resolution to put in that motion of who is administers over the PTF accounts.
Perfect. Clear?
Perfect, clear, and our annual audits kind of oversee all of this, checks and balance, so that's good.
I'd like to
Yeah, if
move.
there's no other questions, go ahead.
Approve a resolution authorizing Trevor A. Coombs, Administrative Service Director, and Laura Woolsey, City Treasurer, to add or delete users to access and or transact with the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund accounts.
Second.
So a motion by Betty, a second by Ed. Is there any discussion on the motion? This is approving the resolution. Seeing none, the resolution requires a roll call, correct, Sean? Okay, so it's a roll call vote starting with Ed.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes. Number 10. Who's doing this? Is it Shane or
Gary Sanders is
Gary?
Well,
Ah,
there's both of them.
They need to. They both work hard at this.
Council, appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. On May 24th, the St. George Arts Commission met and reviewed applications from 31 different organizations for the city component, arts component of the Recreation, Arts, and Parks tax. Arts organization had submitted their applications. The Arts Commission members reviewed those applications, looking at 3 specific areas. They looked at the merit aspects of the project or organization, the community aspects, how the organization serves the community, and organizational aspects, effective management, their cultural mission, as well as the board and staff of each organization. As you can see from the list in your packet, the asks, I guess as you go through budget, it's one of those interesting things. The asks were about $600,000. The budgets that we were given to disperse was $250,000. And so the Arts Commission did their due diligence in reviewing those applications and then made the recommendations that you see here this evening.
So that recommendation is from those various groups or from your controlling whatever?
The Arts Commission is making these recommendations after a review of their applications. And I think it's something that we need to be aware of, and it's maybe something the Arts Commission and perhaps the city as well, we need to work together to convey to groups, because these RAP funds, of course, are part of the monies that were passed about 3 to 4 years ago and will be sunsetting in about 7 years, 6 to 7 years, and so unless it's re-upped by the citizens. So these aren't guaranteed monies going forward always. And so.
Gary, in our packet, it says 275 on the front, but we need to add the 25.
Right, 25,000 to
So
Tuacahn.
it is 275,000.
Right. Yeah. But because the city council committed those funds to Tuacahn, the Arts Commission doesn't review a grant from them.
So you're saying the recommendation is not now 275?
And the Arts Commission is 15?
No, there's 11 members.
11.
10 voting members and 1 ex officio.
And they are representative of many of the arts groups in our city, and they do a fabulous job of representing all of the arts groups. So.
And you're on there, aren't you, Betty?
Incredible that you were able to make those adjustments.
It is incredible.
Are there any other questions for Gary?
I just have one question.
Oh.
Most of these things are services and arts and
services.
and you can see what the benefits that come to it. And I noticed the Exchange Club, and usually they come here giving us donations
Right.
for this and that. What do they direct that?
They use these funds for the Southern Utah Performing Arts Festival, which is a tremendous activity that touches the lives of the youth throughout not only our community, but throughout Washington and even into Iron County.
Good, thank you.
What they actually do is students come and perform, and they are adjudicated. So they get a rating, and they're able to use that as they progress in the study of their either instrument or choirs or whatever. And we're one of the, I shouldn't say the few communities, probably around here we are, but it's an extremely valuable thing for the music students.
Betty, is there anything else you want to share with us on that, since you're on the...
Just that I think that this is the third year of dispersing this money, and our organizations are just getting better and better and more professional, and this money, I think it's 0.02 or something,
0.1%.
0.1% is doing incredible things. Such a tiny amount of money that's reaping huge rewards, and I just think that we should be very proud of what's happening with it. And I'd love to make the motion.
Perfect.
To approve the recommendation from the Arts Commission, not Arts Council, but Arts Commission, to award the RAP tax money for this year, 2018.
Second.
2018.
So we have a motion by Betty and a second by Michelle. Is that correct?
That's good. That's
Oh.
good. That works.
I heard it come from that way, so a second from
Either
Michelle.
way.
I sound like Ed. Ed sounds like Michelle.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Either way.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11. Ah,
Good.
there you are.
It is me.
Yeah.
Each year we go through the Community Development Block Grant process. We hold a public notice and a workshop for applications. This year has been kind of an interesting twist. Last year the amount that we received from HUD was $506,000. This year we are going to receive $592,000. So a little bit different than the Arts Commission in this scenario. So staff's recommendation is we had 7 nonprofits apply for Community Development Block Grant funds, and our recommendation is to award all 7 with what they requested as part of their application process. That, I don't think that has ever happened since 2003. When we started this.
Nice to get that little extra increase in it.
It
Good
is.
job.
It is. It
Matt.
was really nice. Oh, it's not me. It's just the program, and we've
If-
got really good consultants.
If I remember right, wasn't there some concern about this program being on the chopping block?
It's still there.
And yet we got more. There
Yeah,
you go.
so I'm not gonna, buck that and just let it go. Just grin and say thanks.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Okay. Any questions for Matt? you're all familiar with?
All of the applicants are well deserving of this money, and it'll go toward great needs that, you know, I'm excited to see the renovations finally at Switch Point for the playground area.
Yes.
Needed for a long time. If nobody has anything else, I will
Please.
make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2018-19 Community Development Block Grant Awards.
Second.
So we have a motion by Michelle, a second by Betty. Are there any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Number 12. Who's doing
Mayor
this
Pro Tem, I will take number 12.
Awesome.
Just quickly, you're all aware of the development that is going up on St. George Boulevard, the boutique hotel, and also the parking garage. If you recall, the original layout of the plan had the parking underground, and it was determined later on with your approval that they would change that plan and now are constructing above-ground parking. That changed some of the it made some, it required some changes to the development agreement, the original development agreement, which showed the layout of the original proposal. Also, the layout of the building that is going just south, I would say south, of the parking garage and a little bit to the east has changed, and that's where they're going to locate all of their apartments, where before they were going to locate that in the same building as the hotel, but now the parking garage will be in that location, adjacent to the car sales. So that also required some changes to the agreement. And then lastly, you know, they had some delays in getting started on it. We had some dates that were in the original agreement that have passed. They've broken ground. As you see, they're moving forward with the project quickly and diligently, but we changed the dates for the construction, and so that they could meet those deadlines. So it's more of a housekeeping type of item with this agreement. Nothing major has changed. Every other layout in there you've seen since the original layout. Also, the walkway shifted a little bit. We're going to have that landscaped walkway that will remain city property. They're working with our Parks Department to come up with a good plan on how that's going to look so that it'll draw the pedestrians mid-block from St. George Boulevard and down south to Tabernacle.
By the way.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, sorry.
No, because yours is probably relevant. Mine isn't.
Your question's probably.
We'll decide that in a minute. As far as it hasn't changed the total parking requirements?
We actually have a few more stalls now with the
Okay.
new layout.
And then will it change the number of units, the apartment units?
No, the last number that we stated when they came in for the parking garage change, they still have those same number of units, and I'm sorry, I don't
I think
recall
it's
the exact number.
110.
Yeah,
That's
so
what-
they'll be doing the same. In fact,
Okay.
the layout of the building probably will be better because it'll be running north and south, so that still gives you the views around town. It is north and south, I'm pretty sure.
It
Yeah, I
is.
think
You're
so.
right.
Yeah.
Good
we
job.
got that one right.
Good
All
job.
right. And so that actually provides better views all around to
The
those
hotel is not inside.
landmarks downtown.
Awesome.
Still going to be a great project, and we're glad it's moving forward.
Perfect.
By the way, my hair salon
And my wife's.
and Rowdy's now look at the I would describe it as industrial Beirut.
Are you talking about you? It's not your particular hairstyle, but someone's.
Not my hairstyle,
Uptown
but
girls.
the
salon
ambiance
itself.
of the salon outside.
Yes.
But the developers have allowed them to stay until they get the building next to them up and running so they can move. But every time I go, it's like you're dodging landmines to get in the door.
That's true.
It's
However,
crazy.
have you walked through Green Gate Village now with the landscaping they've done there,
It's
and been
awesome.
to Chef Alfredo's,
Yep.
which is really kind of a unique place to go to. So there will be even more people, I think, with that restaurant plus Judd's right next door that's so popular. Trying to find a parking space there is kind of difficult at the lunch hour, and then having people living there on site and the hotel. Just
It's
think of-
finally exciting to see the development taking place, that they're moving stuff and it's actually going to happen, and we're excited for it to get done.
You may have to book your appointment a lot further in advance.
I'm sure that neither Michelle nor my wife have changed any of their standing appointments, even though they have to go over the gravel.
Now, I have a question to ask you, Sean. The council's seen the initial presentations, and we had a good idea of looking and seeing exactly what it was going to look like. With these changes, have you seen a visual of what that's going to look like? And are we to entrust in your judgment that it's going to be very attractive in keeping with the standards of?
I hope not.
Well,
The City Historical Preservation Committee approved the look, so. it must-
and you all saw it too when they came in with the redesign of the parking structure, because one of the concerns that we had was how will it look from your hair salon street? That would be 100 West. On 100 West. And so you saw all those views back then. So it really, luckily, was not my opinion, and it was all your opinion when you got to see those and you liked those. So yeah, it's not been left up to me.
So you're not going to cut out any trees. In fact, you might even add a couple of trees, and it's going to be upside, you know?
I'm not sure about trees, but I know I won't need the hair salon.
Okay.
There'll be more landscaping than there is or has been for years over there.
Absolutely, and if you look with the wire, Lori's department, Energy Services, has done a great job of getting all of that, the wiring down, and look what a change that makes in seeing.
You're a good
those
sport,
removed.
Sean.
So.
You take it all in stride. Good for you.
Any other discussion on this? So this is a motion then to amend the joint development agreement? Yes. And so we're naming this the First Amendment? Yes. In anticipation of?
The Second Amendment.
Okay.
Hopefully not having a Second Amendment.
No, I love the Second Amendment.
I do too.
All right. Yep. Okay.
Can I say so moved?
Yes. You can say so moved, and this is for the beautiful. So on the motion, we have a motion by Betty, a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, Renee. Are you keeping up? I mean, with.
And I'm sorry,
We're
I should have
sorry.
said, may I?
No, that's perfect.
can
That's
I?
fine. I didn't even catch that. Okay, we are to
Item 13.
13. Do we know? Are we aware of anything?
You know, we could have a lot of fun with this one with the mayor out, but
Yeah.
he said this morning that he did not anticipate any appointments. So I think if you're comfortable with that, we could move on.
Perfect.
Okay.
Number 14, reports from the mayor, council. The mayor's not here, so that's good. So council members, do you got any reports from your boards or commissions or anything you need to report?
Nope, I don't.
Dinosaur Museum is doing great, and they anticipate coming forward, meeting with the council and making their presentation of how they're going to proceed to grow and develop. So
Awesome.
all good stuff.
Perfect.
I would just report that the staff who prepares everything for the planning commission are incredible.
Going
Boy,
pretty
they do a
smoothly.
Great job, and
Yeah, they are.
I appreciate the hard work they do.
And if you knew how many last-minute changes we call them with before those packets get out, and they do a great job of
They do.
making those
Incredible.
changes.
We'll make sure they know.
And I can report that the Performing Arts Theater Exploratory Group is moving along very well, and they have toured all of the potential sites, and will be really working hard to get a site secured.
Perfect.
You need more?
Michelle, do you have, whatever you got.
I was just going to tell you the Air Quality Board met, and they moved the monitoring device that was over at Sun River over to where the other one is, so they can get them in unison and make sure they're both working. And I guess the biggest concern is the dust that's caused by these trucks that don't have their loads covered, but everything seems to be moving. There's no real notable complaints of dust or air quality problems.
Awesome. Michelle, did you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. I don't have anything to report either. Do you,
I don't have anything.
Okay.
No. But since the council's still convened as the council, perhaps we could do the addendum and then
Oh,
come
perfect.
back to items 15 and 16.
Yes, so we have an addendum, so addendum item number 1, who's taking that one?
Cameron's going to take the items on the addendum for
Okay,
us.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, the interchange 5? Sure, that's the, it's an interchange down on Southern Parkway.
I was trying to put it on I-15. Okay, I feel better already.
Yeah, it's just a little bit east of River Road interchange. It's between, exit 6 is the one that goes to Desert Canyons, exit 4 is the one that goes to River Road. So this is between. Several weeks ago we applied, well, the developer requested that the city apply for an SIB loan, a state infrastructure bank loan from the state for, I think it was $4,735,000 as a large portion of the construction costs to Interchange 5. We applied for those funds, the SIB loan from the state. They approved it. And these items on the agenda are for, you have to have an agreement between UDOT and the city for that loan. It's a loan agreement template that came from UDOT. There's also a resolution for giving us authority to be able to obtain the loan. We also have to have a development agreement between the city and the developers. There's 2 of them there because one of them is Desert Solutions Group, I think is what it is, and also Desert Canyons, as indicated on the application. But that will allow for the developer to collateralize some property of his. He did this previously on exit 6. He collateralizes the property and then he sells that to make the payments on the loan. He also has some contributions, in-kind contributions for the loan, or for the construction of the interchange. And so the items on the agenda are to approve those so that we can move forward with that SIB loan.
So you're saying we have done this before?
Yes, exit 6. This was the process we went through for exit 6, and they built that interchange.
So the developer makes the payments on the...
Yeah, they pay us, and then we pay UDOT.
Okay.
Because the SIB loans do not go to private development; it goes through the municipality.
And we hold the collateral.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Any questions?
So the total that the city's going to contributions on this that we talked about earlier.
The total money that the city is contributing is 0.
Okay, so the way these are numbered 1 and 2, first we're approving the agreement, and so then the second item is authorizing.
Yes.
That agreement. Is that my understanding that right?
Did I say those right?
Sorry.
Well, sort of.
Okay.
Item 1 is the loan agreement with UDOT that
Okay.
basically memorializes the whole arrangement there. Item 2 is the resolution adopting the loan from the state of Utah.
Okay, perfect. That clear, council?
One more clarification. On the first approval of the loan agreement with UDOT, I would also include in that a loan agreement with Desert Canyons, and Kurt, remind me if I'm wrong, Desert Canyons and Development Solutions.
Oh, Development Solutions. I think I said that.
The reason why, Council, is because, as we did last time, we have a separate agreement with those entities. They're the ones that have the collateral property that they're putting up as collateral, and we then require them to make the loan payments prior to the payments being due from the city to the state, and then once we get those, we turn around and make the loan payment to the state. So it would be a loan agreement with UDOT and a loan agreement with Desert Canyons and Development Solutions, right, for the interchange, for Interchange 5 of the Southern Parkway.
So those are 2 separate. I mean, a loan agreement with UDOT is between us and UDOT.
That's right.
The other loan agreement is between us and
That's right. And Desert,
Desert Canyons
and Development
De-
Solutions. Those two entities. Last time we only did it with one, Desert Canyons. This time, because both of these entities have property they're using as collateral, we're naming both of them in the agreement.
That seems like a pretty safe bet. Just me talking out loud. But anyways, okay. That makes sense, council?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. If I would entertain a motion along those lines, if someone is so inclined.
I will make a motion to approve the loan agreement with the city, between the UDOT and the City of St. George, and approve the loan agreement between the city and Desert Canyon and Development Solutions for Interchange 5.
Second.
So we have a motion by Michelle, a second by Ed. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, in this case, we'll go ahead and combine the motion.
Thank you for that clarification. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2. So item number 2 is, do we have to have further explanation on this, I guess?
It's just the resolution authorizing us to do that.
So this is a resolution authorizing all of the above.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Betty, a second by Ed. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, this is a resolution, correct? So we will start with Betty this time.
Aye.
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 So the resolution passes. Okay. Is that all we have on the addendum?
That is.
Yes.
And so if you'd like, we could do the RDA meeting.
So we need to close, motion to adjourn from City Council.
Second.
And convene.
And convene the Neighborhood Redevelopment Agency meeting.
Second.
So we have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty to adjourn as the City Council and convene as the redevelopment agency. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, whew. I don't know what we'd do if that happened, but okay, take us away.
All right, this item number 1 is one that you've just discussed. It's just the RDA side of this development agreement with the City View developer. Staff would recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty, a second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, is this a resolution, just a regular motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And now, if you're so inclined, you could adjourn as the RDA and reconvene as the City Council.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle, a second by Betty to adjourn as the
RDA.
RDA and reconvene as the City Council. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now do we need a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss litigation, property acquisition, or, well...
Okay, is this a
employee-
motion already?
Second.
Yes.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it easy. I didn't want you to have to say it all twice.
I already did.
Okay, so we have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty to adjourn as, or to, we're adjourning to, or are we adjourning from? City Council?
From the
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so we're not adjourning from council, we're
Moving to a closed
Moving to
session.
closed
correct.
session.
Thank you for that clarification. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.